When I first started my business back in 2015, I was solo and I hit six figures really quickly. And that sounds great, but behind the scenes, I was actually drowning. I knew that I needed help, but I didn't have the money to really hire someone experienced or the time to really train anyone. Truth is, I barely had time to eat and to breathe. I kept telling myself, I'm going to figure this out soon. But soon, it never came. I actually became the bottleneck in my own business. And the truth is, many founders often do. Today, I want to walk you through something that I wish I'd known back then: how to start to recognize when you are the bottleneck and how to start to change it. In this video, I want to help see if you might be stuck in the weeds and what to do about it. We're going to walk through the most common signs, a very simple framework that I use with most of my clients, and then I'm going to give you some questions to help figure out exactly where you're stuck and how you can change all that and start to shift into the CEO role of your own business. So, how do you know if you've actually started to become the bottleneck in your own business? Here are the 5 signs that I see most often. You can't take on any more clients without giving up your nights and weekends. You're stuck constantly working in the business instead of on the business. Even on your time off, your brain is still buzzing. It's scrambling to remember all those things that you forgot. Everything feels urgent and you just can't seem to turn anything off. You start to feel a little bit resentful of your business or certain tasks, or maybe even some of your clients. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Look, one client came to me recently after building a thriving interior design business where she had tons of referrals coming in. And from the outside, everything actually looked successful. But she really dreaded the weekends because she knew that that's the only time she had to start to play catch up with the things that needed to be caught up. She told me, look, I don't even know how to dig myself out of this mess. So that's what the bottleneck effect actually looks like. So let's take a closer look at the 3 causes of actually becoming the bottleneck in your own business. At Veriscale, we use a really simple framework to help diagnose where the real friction is: people, processes, and priorities. People. Maybe you've made it higher already, but the role is unclear. Onboarding feels rushed or inconsistent, or you never feel like you can actually hand anything off. Processes. You're reinventing the wheel daily. Nothing runs the same way twice. SOPs? What SOPs? You've got some systems, some tools, some software, but it all feels like it's been piecemealed and duct taped together on the back end. And then priorities. You keep adding more offers, more tasks, more noise. You're switching offers, you're chasing fires, you're saying yes to things that you know you should be saying no to. You can't think about even time blocking or finding time to strategize about the next steps in your own business. And by the way, this can show up as just trying out new and different things on repeat. I call that the spaghetti noodle method. You're throwing noodles against the wall just to see what's going to stick. And look, I've been here. I've done a lot of this. Most bottlenecks actually fall into one of these categories, and if you don't fix them, your business is always going to depend on you to function. So let's go back to my first business. I hit a plateau really quickly. I couldn't grow because I didn't have any systems. I didn't have support. I didn't even have the headspace to put either of these things into place. And worst of all, I was missing time with my daughter, who was just a tiny baby at the time. Even when I had time to spend with her, my head was actually half checked out. I actually tried hiring twice, and both times it failed. Not because the people were wrong, but because I didn't have time to lead them and I wasn't ready or set up for them to be in my business. I hadn't clarified the role. I had no systems. I had no processes. I had no way to turn anything over to them. And I definitely did not have the capacity to train or to support them the way that they needed. I was in this space where I needed to start turning some things over without spending too much time on it. But again, I just did not have the cash flow for an experienced US person, and I didn't have the knowledge or expertise to actually turn things over the way that they needed to be. Now, let's fast forward to Veriscale. I approached things really differently in this business. I hired an experienced virtual assistant, and I hired them on purpose and as I started out. I got crystal clear on the role and wrote the job description based on my real needs in my business, based on the systems and tools that I used and needed expertise in, based on the experience I knew they needed now and to grow into in the future. I knew exactly where this person was going to fit, what the role looked like, and what they would grow into. Then I set up my systems and tools: Slack, Asana, Google Workspace, QBO, and Go High Level. And I started recording looms on every repeatable task. And I didn't just hand things off. I actually invited my VA into the vision. We talked about priorities in our weekly check-ins, and she helped start to build this business with me. That's the difference. You don't need a massive team. You just need a really smart plan and the right focus. So let's do a quick gut check. Ask yourself, what tasks am I doing that someone else could own 80% of with the right systems in place? What is the one thing that I keep putting off that I know would move my business forward? And if I stepped away for a week, what would fall apart? Where do you feel the most tension? That's your starting point. Look, you don't have to stay stuck as the bottleneck. Recognizing it is just the first step, and shifting out of it is exactly what we help founders do every single day here at Veriscale. It's not about just hiring a virtual and an executive assistant. It's about making sure that you and your business are set up to lead and grow so that you can finally step into the role of CEO and visionary. If you're ready to stop being the bottleneck and to start actually building a business that can run without you having to do it all, I would absolutely love to support you. We have a few ways to connect. Why not join one of our upcoming Bottleneck Breakthrough Roundtables? It's absolutely free. We hold one every other week, and you can come and join other founders just like you who are looking for ways to get out of being the bottleneck in their own business. Just DM me and I will send you over the link. But no matter what, don't stay stuck. You built this business for a reason. Now it's time to learn to lead it.